Good afternoon. Welcome. We call the case of Perez versus Dempsey, Reddick, and River County Soccer Club, Inc. The parties ready to proceed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, may the plaintiff attorneys introduce ourselves?
That was the next thing I was going to ask you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Anna Buta, and today I'll be conducting the cross-examinations of Shannon Dempsey, Chris Durant, and Jordan Reddick.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Logan Adams, and today I'll be giving the opening statement.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Miranda Ramey, and today I will be conducting the direct examination of Casey Perez.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Nikita Ramakrishnan, and I will be conducting the direct examination of Dr. Bevan Register.
Your Honor, my name is Molly Edison, and today I will be conducting the direct examination of Coach Tobin O'Reilly.
Hello, Your Honor. My name is Catherine Talon, and today I will be giving the closing arguments.
May our witnesses introduce themselves?
That would be great. Thank you.
Hello, Your Honor. My name is Danielle Moreland Ochoa, and today I am Casey Perez.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Erin Green, and today I am Dr. Bevan Register.
Hello, Your Honor. My name is Menley Neitzel, and today I am Coach Tobin O'Reilly.
And our court clerk, Your Honor?
Hello again, Your Honor. My name is Emma Marnish, and I'll be assisting you with the duties of court clerk today.
Your Honor, would now be an appropriate time for the plaintiff to address some pretrial issues?
First of all, let me have the other team introduce themselves.
Of course, Your Honor.
Team TK, please introduce yourselves so that I know that I have the roster.
Your Honor, my name is Mrs. Mendoza, and today I will present to you the opening statement, and I'll be concluding with the closing argument.
Your Honor, my name is Gina Benavides, and today I will be crossing Casey Perez, and I will be playing Shannon Dempsey.
Your Honor, my name is Eric Mendoza, and I'll be cross-examining Tobin O'Reilly.
Your Honor, my name is Sergio Garcia, and today I will be Jordan Reddick.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Sam McGee, and today I will be playing Chris Durant.
Your Honor, my name is Stephanie Askew, and I will be directing Chris Durant.
Your Honor, I'm Blanca Redondo, and I will be direct examining Shannon Dempsey.
My name is Kate.
Your Honor, I'm Lorena, and I will be debating.
Your Honor, my name is Katie Hill, and I'll be conducting the cross-examination of Dr. Bevan Register and the direct examination of Mr. Jordan Reddick.
Thank you. I do have a copy of the motion. All right, any pretrial matters?
Yes, Your Honor. We would ask permission to move freely about the courtroom during opening statements and closing arguments.
That would be granted.
We also ask permission to move freely about the courtroom during direct and cross-examinations.
That would be allowed as well.
And finally, Your Honor, we would like permission to photograph and digitally record the trial opposing counsel has previously agreed.
Is that okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
That will be allowed as well.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have nothing further.
Okay, anything from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. We ask the same to be allowed to be recorded. Is there any objection?
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
That would be allowed as well.
Also, am I allowed to roam freely about the courtroom when I'm giving my opening statement and my closing argument?
Yes, sir.
Does the same go for the direct examiners and the cross-examiners?
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. Is there a copy of the defense roster for the
mentions? Oh, while doing that, I'm looking at my checklist. I want to make sure if there are any persons present in the courtroom who are connected with other schools in the competition, other than the schools competing in this courtroom. You can ask you to be excused. And you can contact the coordinator to determine the location of the courtroom which school is performing. I want to remind spectators of the importance of showing respect for the competing teams. I want to make sure everyone has silenced their electronic devices. Nothing is more embarrassing than having the phone go off in the middle of one of these. I want to remind the teams that witnesses are permitted to testify only to the information in the fact situation, the witness statements, and what can be reasonably inferred from the information. I'm also to remind teams that they must complete their presentations within the specified time limits. The veil will signal you as the time for each segment of the presentation runs out. It says you're going to have a 3-minute and 1-minute warning. Is that accurate? Okay. So we'll be giving you some warnings. You folks know this already. At the end of each segment, you'll be stopped when your time has run out, whether you're finished or not. All witnesses must be called. We've also got a list of the exhibits. Finally, I want to indicate that I've been assured that the Code of Ethical conduct has been read and will be followed by all participants in the mock trial competition, including the teams that are competing today. Should there be a recess at any time during the trial, the communication rule shall be in effect. Okay, any other questions or any conclusion?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
May I have an opening statement that you decided?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please go ahead.
Soccer is a competitive contact sport, known around the world by adoring fans. Mia Perez is one of those fans. She loves soccer and had been playing for years. But we will show that that is no longer the case. As you will hear today during a soccer practice on Monday, November 26, 2012, Mia hit her head so hard that she was dizzy, confused, clutching at her head. Coach Shannon Dempsey will admit that even after observing these severe symptoms, she allowed Mia to play in a soccer tournament less than 1 week later. We will present evidence that at this tournament, Mia suffered 2 more concussive events, causing a condition known as post-concussive syndrome, which Mia still suffers from today, 15 months later. Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury, my name is Logan Adams, and we, the plaintiff, will show that the 3 defendants, Rubicon Soccer Club's Director Jordan Reddick and Coach Shannon Dempsey, failed and breached their duty to Mia Perez. We will show by a preponderance of the evidence that because of the negligence of the 3 defendants, Mia Perez was allowed to suffer not 1, not 2, but 3 separate concussive events in less than 1 week. Turning to the evidence. First, Shannon Dempsey will testify that she failed to ensure that Mia received medical attention after Mia was hurt during Monday's practice, and failed to inform Mia's mother of the injury. Mia's mother, Casey Perez, will testify that prior to the start of the soccer season, she had submitted a medical waiver, which warned the club that Mia had previously sustained a concussion, putting Mia at a greater risk of sustaining a second and more severe concussion. We will show that Coach Dempsey never even read this medical waiver and breached her duty of care by allowing Mia Perez to suffer 3 concussive events in less than 1 week. Second, Jordan Reddick, the director of Rubicon Soccer Club, will admit that Rubicon's policy on training coaches does not include any concussion training. Director Reddick will also admit that Rubicon had no safe return to play policies, and that he ignored information about concussions that Coach Tobin O'Reilly will testify was easily accessible. Third, Rubicon Soccer Club. You will learn today that Rubicon never required their players to receive a medical evaluation to ensure that players were healthy enough to compete. The evidence we present today will show that Rubicon Soccer Club and Director Jordan Reddick failed to take action to protect their players from a reasonably foreseeable injury, and breached their duty to Mia Perez by allowing her to receive 3 separate concussive events in less than 1 week. Finally, we will present evidence of the harm caused by the defendant's negligence. Dr. Bevan Register, a specialist with 20 years in the field of concussion research, will explain the devastating effects of repeated concussions. You will learn that even now, 15 months after the 3 concussive events, Mia Perez can't go outside because of a sensitivity to light. She has been unable to attend school and has to deal with constant headaches and memory problems. The evidence we present will show that the cumulative effect of these 3 concussive events can be directly attributed to the cumulative negligence of the 3 defendants. Members of the jury, we ask that you pay close attention to the evidence that we present today. The defense may try and place the blame on Mia Perez herself, But we, the plaintiff, fully accept our burden of proof to prove that the defendants breached their duty of care to Mia Perez. And members of the jury, we will prove that not one, not two, but 3 separate concussive events in the span of less than 1 week are not accidental occurrences or the result of action taken by a concussed teenager, but instead are a result of the defendant's negligence. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Defense has an opening statement.
Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court, counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Moises Mendoza, and today it is my great honor to represent Rubicon Soccer Club and its employees. Currently, as you all may know, we live in a society in which many people lack integrity and a sense of acceptance, and end up pointing fingers at people who have no fault. That is the issue in today's case. My clients are being unlawfully accused for the tragic accident that occurred to Mia Perez. I'd like to make it clear that my clients feel terribly awful for what happened to her. She had a bright future, but because of the actions that she did not fulfill, the responsibilities that she did not meet, she is now suffering from her injuries. This injury was caused by a series of events that the plaintiff will try to skew and blame on my client. It is undisputed that there was 4 concussive events in this case, like the plaintiff stated. But what they did not state was that Mia Perez failed to attend her follow-up doctor's appointment after her first concussion. Therefore, like you will hear from the doctors, the professionals, it makes the other concussions much more likely to occur. In this case, I have nothing to prove. The plaintiff has to prove everything. But with 3 witnesses who consist of Jordan Riddick, the manager of Rubicon Soccer Club, Shannon Dempsey, Mia's coach, and Chris Durant, Mia's closest friend, we will show you that Casey Perez claims and what Casey Perez claims and is accusing my client of is not accurate. And she compels us to show that we are not the ones that should be responsible for something in which her own daughter had the capability of preventing. Before anything further, I would like to clarify that this is a bifurcated case. We are not here to discuss the injuries of Mia, but we are here to see if the plaintiff can prove us liable for those injuries caused by negligence. To prove negligence, the plaintiff has to perfectly cover and clarify that my client has caused the injuries, that my client had a duty and that he breached that duty, and that we are to be held liable. I invite you, the jury, to realize that the plaintiff will try to throw you off by telling you about the injuries and how they are affected. But that is not the purpose in why we are here today. We, the defendants, don't have to prove anything in this case. The plaintiff's job is to show you, the jury, that we are liable for the injuries that occurred on December 2, 2012. But with the 3 witnesses that I mentioned to you before, we will help you clarify that what Casey Perez is trying to hold my client accountable for is either not true, misinterpreted, or slanted briefly to their benefit. The first witness we will call will be Jordan Riddick. Jordan Riddick is the manager of the club, and he's been accused of not setting the correct protocols for this club, ultimately leading to that injury. Mr. Riddick will tell us about how he went above and beyond what the law required for soccer clubs, and he taught and enforced the caring of the most common issue in youth soccer, which is the ACLs, torn ACLs, by starting a connection with Juilliard University, letting their medical students practice and basically take care of these players during tournaments. Aside of that, he'll tell us how rare concussions have been for his club of 2,000 players and how he's been giving the most information possible to players about staying fit and being healthy, because ultimately the main goal for Mr. Riddick was to get his players to college with soccer scholarships. Now, is that not a proper protocol? The second witness we will call is Mrs. Dempsey, Mia's coach, who is being accused of negligence towards the care of his player. We will show you that it's not possible to be negligent towards something that you are not aware of. Mrs. Dempsey was misled and lied to. Both Casey Perez and her daughter had the capacity, ability, and responsibility to let Mr. Dempsey know about Mia and her prior concussion. If this would have happened, Mr. Dempsey would have taken different steps towards dealing with the different misleading issues. Third and lastly, Chris Durant, Mia's closest friend, will be called to testify. With Chris, you'll be able to acknowledge that Mia wasn't going to allow anyone to know about her symptoms, which could have been possible concussions, and not even her mother knew about the symptoms. How can a coach be expected to notice something when not even her mother catches it? It is a tough testimony for Mr. Durant. He can't allow someone to be blamed for something in which they had no control over. Now, I invite you, the jury, to listen to everything in this case. Take note if the plaintiff is able to prove that we caused the injuries, that we had a duty and that we breached that duty, and if we're responsible for those damages. Remember, if they fail to do so, then we can be held responsible. That's why I ask you to please return a verdict in our favor. And throughout this case, just remember, is it morally correct to blame someone for something they had no control over? Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Plaintiff, try to acknowledge this.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to remind the court that my name is Miranda Ramey, and the plaintiff calls Casey Perez to the stand.
Please come forward.
Please raise your right hand. Do you promise the testimony about you will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
Please be seated, state your name, and spell your last name.
My name is Casey Perez, P-E-R-E-Z. Good afternoon, Ms. Perez. Good afternoon. Ms. Perez, how did your daughter Mia become involved in soccer?
Mia began playing soccer about 8 years ago, shortly after her father died. I enrolled her in soccer and several other sports camps at the YMCA to try and help her get past her stage of grief, and that's where she first fell in love with soccer.
And has Mia continued to have this passion?
Yes, Mia's been passionate in all areas of her life. When she was 13, she made it into the top team with Rubicon Soccer Club. After that, she started talking about playing in the pros. And if what her coaches were saying was true, that dream was a very possible reality for her.
And were you able to see her play on both her high school and club teams?
Not as much as I would have liked to. Rubicon's fees were expensive, especially for a single mom, so I decided to take up a second job. It wasn't ideal, but it was worth it because Mia's happiness was absolutely everything to me.
And besides the fees which you mentioned, did Rubicon require anything else of you as a parent?
Well, besides the fees, Rubicon had parents who knew their paperwork, which I believe they collected before every club season.
Your Honor, at this time, may I approach the bench with what has been pre-marked as Exhibit 5? Thank you. Let the record reflect that I am now handing a copy of Exhibit 5 to opposing counsel, and this is the copy I'll be showing the witness. Your Honor, may I approach the witness? Thank you. Ms. Perez, could you please identify this for the court?
Yes, this is the Rubicon medical waiver.
And do you have personal knowledge of this medical waiver?
Yes, I filled it out.
And is this a fair and accurate representation of the medical waiver?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff moves to enter Exhibit 5 into evidence, the authenticity of which has been stipulated.
Any objections?
No objections, Your Honor.
Exhibit will be in and proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Perez, did the Rubicon paperwork ever ask for any specific medical information?
Very little.
Objection, Your Honor. The counsel is leading.
Please continue.
They only specifically asked whether or not Mia had any allergies or if she had gotten her tetanus shot.
So, the Rubicon paperwork never asked if Mia had a physical or any past medical information or prior injuries?
Objection,
No.
Your Honor. Asked and answered.
Overruled on that basis.
Could you please answer the question?
No, they didn't.
And Ms. Perez, did Mia have any prior injuries?
Yes. In the spring of 2012, while playing for one of her school teams, Mia collided with a defender, and she went down pretty hard. When she got up, she looked a bit woozy, so her coach at the time, Coach O'Reilly, took her out right away.
And did Miss O'Reilly do anything else?
Yes. Coach O'Reilly kept her out for the entire game, even when Mia was begging to go back in. And Coach O'Reilly was the one who advised me to take Mia to the doctor.
Objection, Your Honor. The witness is giving an opinion.
Could you please finish your sentence, please?
Like I was saying, Coach O'Reilly was the one who advised me to take Mia to the doctor after the game.
And did you take Mia to the doctor?
Yes, of course. A licensed professional knows way more about sports injuries than I do, so I made sure to take Mia the next day. And she had a head injury, just like Coach O'Reilly had suspected.
And when Mia played for Rubicon later that year, did you notify the club about her prior injury?
Yes. Rubicon has parents renew the medical waiver, and since they didn't have a specific area regarding prior injuries, I wrote mild concussion in May 2012 while playing for school soccer team on the line regarding unusual health information.
And after you filled out the medical waiver form and gave it back to Rubicon, did anyone from Rubicon follow up with any questions as to the extent of your daughter's concussion?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. Now, I'd like to talk about the Rubicon College Tournament in December of 2012. When you got there, did you notice anything unusual?
I did notice that Mia wasn't running as hard as usual, but I trusted the coaches to make the right calls.
And did anything of concern happen in the first half?
Right before halftime, Mia did try to head a ball and she took an elbow to the head.
And how did she look?
She seemed shaken, but Coach Dempsey made a
Objection,
decision.
Your Honor. The witness is going beyond her testimony, or her affidavit.
Your Honor, pursuant to Rule 703, testimony by a layperson, a witness is allowed to testify to anything that is reasonably inferred from their character, and since Ms. Perez was there during the college showcase, she is able to give her rational perception of how Mia Perez looked.
Well, may I change my objection to lack of personal knowledge? She does not know Ms. Dempsey well enough to give an opinion based on how she looked or how she felt, for that matter.
You overrule the objection.
Thank you. Again, how did Mia look?
She seemed shaken, but Coach Dempsey put her back in for the second half. I just thought she had everything handled.
And what happened in the second half of the game?
Mia did seem a bit better with the break at halftime. But shortly after the half started, a defender came out of nowhere and tackled her, and she crashed to the ground. I waited for her to get up, but she never did.
And what happened next?
The next thing I knew, I was running onto the field with Dempsey and the trainers. I felt completely helpless. Mia was still unconscious when they loaded her onto the stretcher, and all I could do was climb into the ambulance with her and wait. I just didn't want to lose her too.
Miss Perez. Miss Perez.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Miss Perez, can you tell us what happened when you got to the hospital?
Yes. Mia didn't regain consciousness until about an hour after we got there. The doctors ran some tests and we found that Mia had a concussion.
And how has this concussion affected Mia since the incident?
Objection, Your Honor. This case is bifurcated, and therefore the damages done to the defendant, to Mia Perez, is not relevant.
Your Honor, part of this case is damages. However, because of the bifurcation of the trial, we can't talk about future damages. I specifically asked Casey Perez about damages since the incident up until today, and I have not asked about any future damages.
Sustained.
Thank you. Ms. Perez, prior to the college tournament, did Shannon Dempsey ever call you to tell you that your daughter hit her head during her Monday practice?
No. Nobody told me anything.
If Shannon Dempsey had called you, what would you have been able to do differently?
I would have taken Mia to the doctor. I would have let her study so hard for all those exams, go to school, and definitely would have let her play in that tournament. And I expect a coach to have
Objection, Your
either.
Honor. The witness is going off on a narrative. Move to strike.
I'll sustain the objection. Ask her your question.
Thank you. Ms. Perez, would you have let Mia play in that college tournament if you had known about her hitting her head?
No, I would have taken her to the doctor.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross.
Permission to cross, Your Honor? Ms. Perez, you never went to that follow-up visit that Dr. Mueller recommended, now did you?
I didn't think it was necessary to go, as it was only recommended to help guide the recovery process.
Are you a doctor?
No.
Objection, Your Honor. This is going towards breach of duty on Casey Perez's part. However, since Casey Perez is not a party in this case, this is misleading to the jury. Thank you, Your Honor.
So, Dr. Mueller wanted to see Mia Perez again, didn't he?
Objection, Your Honor. This is an assumption of facts, found evidence. She is testifying to information found within one of the exhibits, and since it has not been entered into evidence, this is an assumption of facts. Your Honor.
Did Dr. Mueller want to see Mia Perez again?
He wanted to see Mia again if her symptoms persisted after a week, and I watched her
Objection,
really
Your
closely.
Honor. The witness is extracting unfair evidence. It's biased. It's not within her testimony either.
I want you to make sure you're just answering the question that she's asking, okay? So I will sustain the objection to that, so ask her the question.
Dr. Mueller wanted to see Mia Perez again, didn't he?
He said that we could have a possible follow-up visit.
But in your affidavit, you never said that it was possible now, did you?
He did say that we should come back, but on the sheet that he gave me, he said that if Mia was still persisting to have symptoms, then we should come back, and she wasn't.
So you knew soccer was a physical sport?
Any sport is quite physical.
And you knew that there was a chance of injury in any sport?
Well, there's always a chance of injury in any sport, yes.
So you knew that injuries often occurred in soccer?
Yes.
And you knew that receiving medical treatment for an injury was vital?
I don't think I understand.
You knew when you're injured, medical treatment is vital, correct?
Yes, and that's why I took Mia to the doctor.
So you knew that that follow-up visit was important, didn't you?
The way that the doctor said it and the way that the form said about the follow-up visit was that it was only recommended to help guide the recovery process.
But again, you're not a doctor, are you?
No.
Dr. Mueller, even you said a licensed professional knows way more than I ever would. You said that on direct.
Yes.
And now you're saying his tone didn't seem proper enough?
No. What I was merely saying was that the sheet that he gave me to take home.
I'm not talking about the sheet. I'm talking about whether or not you took your daughter, your injured daughter, back to a follow-up visit.
No, I didn't.
So, did Dr. Mueller give you an ACE care plan?
Yes, he gave me a care plan sheet to take home to take care of me.
All right. Permission to approach the bench, Your Honor? I have provided a copy of Exhibit 2 to the opposing counsel. I'm handing the clerk what has been marked as Exhibit 2. Permission to show this exhibit to the witness? Could you please identify this?
Yes, this is the acute concussion evaluation care plan sheet.
Your Honor, at this time we offer Exhibit 2 into evidence. Its authenticity has been stipulated.
Yes, Your Honor. This sheet is hearsay. Ms. Perez did not write this piece of evidence.
Your Honor, permission to respond?
Sure.
This is a business record. And Ms. Perez is familiar with this exhibit. It's right, and she even talks about it in her affidavit.
What's the purpose of offering the exhibit?
It's to show negligence on the plaintiff's behalf.
However, Your Honor, because Casey Perez is not a party in this case, it would be inappropriate for opposing counsel to offer a duty or a breach of duty on Casey Perez's part because she is not a party in this case, and therefore it would be misleading to the trier of fact.
Your Honor, so I'm a little confused on her response. Can you
Yeah, you have to clarify. Casey Perez is not a party in this case. Mia Perez is suing Rubicon Soccer Club, Shannon Dempsey, and Jordan Reddick. If I heard her correctly, opposing counsel is offering this to show the breach of duty on Casey Perez's part to Mia Perez. And since Casey Perez is not a party in this case, it would be improper to show that as that is not being disputed in this trial. And therefore it would be misleading to the trier of fact.
Actually, Your Honor, I'm offering Exhibit 2 and pursuant to the stipulation number 4 on page 10. It's no hearsay objections should be honored on this.
However, Your Honor, in the listserv, it says under question 2, the answer filed by the defendants targets the plaintiff, not the parent. Thus, it would be improper for the defense to argue the parent's comparative fault to the jury, and therefore, this is misleading.
May I approach the bench, Your Honor?
Here are the rules, right there.
And overrule the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
the typical reading there.
Okay, so is this not the ACE cure plan?
Yes, it is.
Now, did you review it with your doctor?
Oh, well, he gave it to me to use as a resource when I took me home.
And in your affidavit, you even said you kept it all this time, you reviewed it, you saw it, you took
I did
it.
look over it.
Okay, and does this exhibit not show the signs and symptoms of a concussion?
It does.
So that entire week leading to the college showcase tournament, your daughter exhibited unusual behavior, correct?
Mia was acting a little bit strange that week.
Was she quieter than usual?
She was a little bit quiet, yes.
And was she sleeping more than usual?
She was.
Was she fatigued?
I wouldn't be able to tell you that.
She told you that she was fatigued in your affidavit, didn't she?
She told me that she was stressed and tired from school.
So she was fatigued?
I suppose you could say that.
Aren't all of those symptoms listed right here on the signs and symptoms of a concussion, right on the front page?
Well, those are symptoms. Because I didn't know about the head hit that Mia sustained on Monday's practice, I couldn't attribute those symptoms to anything other than her having a busy week.
But your daughter had suffered a concussion in May. You took her to the doctor. You and your doctor reviewed these symptoms very clearly. You recognized the symptoms of a concussion, didn't you?
Because Mia had already been diagnosed with a concussion, I will say I focused more on the part that was about her recovery because that was what I was focused on.
So you weren't worried about things that could happen in the future? You weren't worried about the signs and symptoms? You weren't worried about what to look for?
Well, of course.
So you would be familiar with those symptoms, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't be to the point of memorization, but
But they're pretty obvious, aren't they? Fatigued, dizziness, tiredness?
Like I said, because I didn't know about that head hit, I attributed those symptoms to having a busy week. And those symptoms can be attributed to a busy week.
Okay. So, but she was exhibiting those symptoms the entire week right before the showcase tournament, wasn't she?
I saw Mia, unfortunately, very little that week because I took up extra shifts so that I could watch her play at the tournament.
But in your affidavit, you said this is Mia's unusual behavior, and then every day she listed a symptom that was corresponding to the signs and symptoms of a concussion, wasn't she?
Mia was acting a little strange that week, but again, I didn't know about the head hit on Monday.
Okay. So now on the other side of this exhibit, you'll see something that says returning to sports. Could you find it?
Yes.
Could you read the first item listed in all bold?
You should never return to play if you still have any symptoms.
And just to clarify, are the words never and any completely capitalized?
They are.
Were you expecting college coaches and college recruiters to be at the college showcase tournament?
Well, it was a college showcase tournament, so yes, they would be there.
And in your affidavit, page 13, lines 11, you said Mia needed a soccer scholarship to have any hope of attending a top-tier university, didn't you?
Obviously, as a mom, I think that my daughter is incredibly talented, and I believe that she would have been successful and gotten where she needed to be in life purely off of that.
But your daughter needed that exposure, and that exposure was provided by the college showcase tournament, wasn't it?
Yes, but I would never risk my daughter's health for her to get exposure.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Press, why weren't you ever worried about how your daughter was acting during the college showcase?
Mia had important exams and a college showcase tournament all in 1 week. I saw that she was tired and stressed, but unless I knew about that head hit that she received on Monday, I couldn't have attributed her symptoms to anything other than having so much on her plate that week.
And Ms. Perez, regarding the first concussion, why didn't you take Mia back for the follow-up procedure?
The ACE care plan sheet that the doctor gave me said specifically that we would only return if Mia's symptoms were persisting after a week.
Objection, Your Honor. That is outside the scope of the mock trial materials and therefore is unfair extrapolation because it's biased.
Your Honor, in the exhibit, it does say under returning to daily activities number 7, repeated evaluation of your symptoms is recommended to help guide recovery. Since this has already been entered into evidence, this would be allowed. Thank you, Your Honor. Can you please continue?
I did exactly what the doctor told me on the ACE care plan sheet. I carefully monitored Mia and watched her throughout that week, and after the week ended, Mia seemed fine. And I knew that she wasn't going to have any serious physical activity for a month, which was 3 weeks longer than the doctor said she needed to rest.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. Nothing further, Your Honor.
One last question, Your Honor, for recross. Letting Mia rest wasn't the only thing that Dr. Mueller recommended, was it?
It was one of the things that was very prevalent on the sheet he gave me.
You never went to that follow-up visit, did you?
I didn't feel like I needed to.
No further questions.
I'm only allotted 1 redirect. So
Oh, okay.
I'm done, thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to remind the court that my name is Nikita Ramakrishnan, and I'd also like to inquire as to how much time I have remaining for my direct examination.
You have 13 minutes remaining.
Thank you. The plaintiff calls Dr. Bevan Register to the stand.
Please come forward.
Please raise your right hand. Do you promise the testimony you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
Please be seated, state your name and spell your last
Dr. Bevan Register, R-E-G-I-S-T-E-R. Good morning, Dr. Register.
Good afternoon.
Why are you testifying here today?
I'm testifying because Mia Perez is one of my patients, and as a medical professional, I'm able to illustrate the severity of her injuries to the jury.
What qualifies you to determine the severity of Mia Perez's injuries?
Since I received my doctorate in sports medicine, it's allowed me to hold many positions that I've been able to conduct in nearly 20 years of research on concussions. But the position that I hold that's most important and most relevant to my patient, Mia, is that I'm the director at a concussion research center.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to qualify Dr. Bevan Register as an expert in the field of sports medicine, specifically concussion diagnosis, recognition, prevention, awareness, and treatment.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you. So, Dr. Register, with your background, would you please inform the court of what a concussion is?
Of course. A mild concussion is considered a type of mild traumatic brain injury, which is a form of brain damage. Of course, the more severe the brain damage, the more severe the concussion is considered to be.
How does this type of injury occur?
For this type of injury to occur, there needs to be an abrupt movement, jolting the brain and causing it to hit against the skull. And this damage affects how the brain functions, which is why it's so important for athletes to receive a proper recovery time to heal following a concussion.
And how is an athlete affected if they are not given that proper recovery time?
Well, if an athlete participates in any additional physical or mental activity following a concussion, their symptoms could worsen and lead to long-term problems.
Objection, Your Honor. This case is bifurcated, and testimony about the long-term problems caused by the concussion are not within the scope of liability that we're trying here today.
I'm going to overrule the objection, but caution counsel keep the questions more directly related to the issues before the court.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Dr. Register, would you please continue?
Of course. As I was saying, it could lead to long-term problems. But if an athlete receives yet another concussion during this recovery time, not only will their symptoms worsen, but it actually has the potential to be fatal.
And how did this type of brain damage affect your patient, Mia Perez?
Fortunately, these brains are extremely prone to damage. So when Mia didn't just sustain one concussion, but as I would repeat concussions, her condition became much more severe. And this is why she was referred to me as my center specifically specializes in the diagnosis of youth athlete cases.
Why does your center specialize in such cases?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance?
Thank you. Your Honor, we are further establishing her foundation as to what she is familiar with, what she works on a daily basis, and her expertise in specific concussions. It will help her testify as to her relation with Mia.
Her relation with Mia has already been established, and therefore this is unnecessary.
Thank you. Would you please continue then?
Of course. Formerly, coaches would expect players to continue playing even after they were injured. But 15 years ago, we hit a turning point and realized the importance of protecting our athletes, but especially our youth athletes and their vulnerable brains. And that's why my center developed protocols to improve concussion awareness, prevention, as well as treatment.
And what protocols do you have in place?
We instituted post-injury follow-up testing. This is what I provided to me in February 2013 and then again in August of 2013.
And what does the post-injury follow-up include?
This includes both the computerized and clinical, cognitive, and balance testing.
And what were the results of all of these tests?
All these tests showed me that Mia was suffering from post-concussive syndrome.
What is post-concussive syndrome?
This syndrome is the aftermath of getting many serious concussions and still experiencing the symptoms of a concussion after 3 months or longer.
And now, Dr. Register, aside from your various tests, did anything else help you diagnose Mia Perez's symptoms?
Yes, well, the testing showed me that Mia was suffering from post-concussive syndrome. I also conducted a symptom assessment in which Mia and I discussed the events that led to her injury so I could better understand why Mia was suffering from post-concussive syndrome.
And what did you learn from this discussion with Mia Perez?
Well, Mia and I had primarily discussed the 2 events that occurred on December 2nd of 2012 under her club coach Shannon Dempsey's care. I gathered that she received a blow to the head in the first half of the game, but this was not the actual injury that caused Mia to lose consciousness.
Then how did that injury affect Mia Perez?
Well, seeing as Mia wasn't removed from the game, it put her at an increased likelihood of sustaining yet another concussion. In a situation like this, if a coach has even the slightest indication that a player is injured, they should send them to a medical professional who can properly diagnose them.
Dr. Register, did you verify these events with anyone else?
Yes. It's unreasonable to rely only on a minor's recall, especially because of Mia's severely concussed state. So I confirmed the events through an interview with her mother, Casey Perez, who was at the game when in the second half Mia fell to the ground and was knocked unconscious.
And does an individual have to lose consciousness in order for them to have sustained a concussion?
No, that is an indication that an individual has suffered a severe concussion. However, in most cases, athletes do not lose consciousness after sustaining a concussion.
What do most people experience?
The most common symptom is headaches, but difficulty concentrating and sensitivity to noise are also prevalent with girls. And unfortunately, these are just a few of the symptoms that I observed in Mia.
Then, are Mia Perez's symptoms common?
While her symptoms are, the severity and duration of her symptoms are not. Because to this day, Mia continues to suffer from post-concussive syndrome, and that's why I was prompted to look into her past medical history.
And what did you find?
I found that Mia had sustained a concussion a year before the Rubicon tournament, but then later sustained 2 concussive events on the December 2nd tournament.
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered. Move to strike.
Thank you. So, Dr. Register, how did these events contribute to Mia Perez losing consciousness?
Well, the first didn't, as Mia did receive a proper recovery time following this injury. However, the 2 concussive events on December 2nd most likely did as they occurred nearly back to back. In order for the severity of Mia's concussions to increase so much, I suspected another incident likely occurred.
And were you able to confirm another incident?
Yes, I confirmed an incident with Mia when I learned that she had hit her head at a Rubicon practice a week before the tournament. But there's no medical history of this, as she was not sent to a medical professional.
Then, Dr. Register, how does this discovery affect your opinions of the events that occurred?
Well, for one, it tells me that Mia never received a proper recovery phase or either of the concussive events prior to falling unconscious. Second, it explains to me and her mother, Casey Perez, exactly why Mia has yet to recover from her debilitating symptoms. But finally, it tells us that even though concussions do happen, it doesn't mean that 3 should happen within 1 week and under 1 coach.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to direct your attention to the ACE care plan. You're familiar with this document?
Yes, I am.
And so you're aware then that it's designed to ensure safe return to play for the players?
Yes.
Correct? So it's important then that it be followed, correct?
To the best of your ability, yes.
Is there a date of a follow-up appointment anywhere on that document?
Yes, there is. I believe that states the 12th of 2012.
Did the plaintiff go to that follow-up?
I was unaware until this trial, but I do not believe so.
But, you also wrote in your affidavit that it's important that players honestly report their symptoms. Isn't that true?
Yes, but I still believe that the responsibility lies with the coach to create this open communication.
But didn't you also write in your affidavit that it's important for Mia specifically to make sure her future coaches are informed?
I do believe that the coach should be informed about the concussion. However, I also believe that the coach should create the environment where Mia felt comfortable.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's not part of my question. No further questions, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Register, what can coaches do to prevent an injury if they suspect that an injury has occurred?
Objection, Your Honor. This is related to coaching protocol and not specifically to sports medicine.
Dr. Register, you could restrict that to concussions then.
I believe that the easiest thing for a coach to do is to remove them immediately from play and then send them to a medical professional to diagnose if they actually have a concussion, even if they have only a slight indication that a player has had one.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Yes, may I permission to recross? Permission to approach the witness? Excuse me. Can you please read the highlighted part of your affidavit?
It is important that an athlete not progress too quickly and that he or she pay careful attention to any recurring symptoms and honestly report those to a parent coach.
Objection, Your Honor. This is outside the scope of my redirect, and the recross is restricted to this.
Sustained.
Thank you.
No further questions, thank you.
Please sit down.
Your Honor, I would like to remind the court that my name is Molly Edison and inquires how much time I have remaining to conduct my direct examination.
You have 7 minutes remaining.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time the plaintiff calls Tobin O'Reilly to the stand.
Please raise your right hand. Do you promise the testimony you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform with the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
Yes, I did.
Please be seated, state your name, and spell your last for the court.
Tobin O'Reilly, O''Reilly.
Good afternoon, Mrs. O'Reilly.
Good afternoon, and no one really calls me Mrs. O'Reilly. My students just call me Coach, and you can too if you'd like.
Okay, Coach O'Reilly. What do you coach?
I coach high school soccer.
Why did you start coaching?
Well, soccer has always meant a lot to me, and I wanted to share that passion with others around me.
And how has soccer been a part of your life?
Well, I myself have played a little kick and chase ever since I was little, and eventually played in high school and was offered a scholarship to play in college. So I went to the University of North Carolina and got my degree in exercise and sports science with a minor in coaching education.
And can you please describe your experience coaching soccer?
When I was in North Carolina for college, I would come back home during the summers and coach at a club team. I eventually earned my NSCAA coaching diploma, and then I now have the honor of coaching at a higher level. I really love seeing that.
Your Honor, this narrative.
Your Honor, may I be heard? Your Honor, pursuant to the mock trial rules, narrative questions may not be asked, but a witness may. There's no objection regarding witness narration. If you refer to page 75 in your case materials, in 101 scope, it says that only the FREs provided to us are allowed, and as narration of the witness is not included in these FREs, it is not an objection. It is not an appropriate objection to be made.
Go ahead and ask me another question.
Miss O'Reilly, what is your current teaching position?
At Grove High School, I teach health, sports medicine, and an advanced personal fitness class. I also coach the girls' JV and varsity soccer teams, and the boys' JV and varsity soccer teams. But, of course, not at the same time. The boys are in the fall and the girls are in the spring.
Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff asks that Tobin O'Reilly be recognized as an expert in the profession of soccer coaching.
No objection, Your Honor.
So noted.
Thank you. Coach O'Reilly, as a coach, is player safety important to you?
Player safety is my #1 priority. I do everything I can to make sure my players are safe and healthy.
Do you do anything in regards to concussions?
Of course, I implemented the CDC Concussion Initiative.
What is the CDC Concussion Initiative?
The Center for Disease Control provides a site with the resources to help prevent concussions, identify the signs and symptoms of concussions, and what a coach should do if they suspect an athlete may have a concussion. It's a great site with the goal of keeping players safe, which should be important to all coaches.
Do all coaches use the CDC Concussion Initiative?
I'm not sure, but if they don't, they should. I mean, all I had to do was Google it and it came up. It didn't cost me anything, and the way the website was set up, it was like it did everything for me. I was able to print off fact sheets, posters, clipboard stickers, even a couple wall cards.
Are there any laws that support this initiative?
Yes, Max's Law.
What is Max's Law?
Max's Law is very similar to what I'm already doing as the coach at Rowe High School. In 2009, it made it so that all high school coaches have to follow a standard protocol before their athletes can return to play after a concussion.
Thank you, Coach O'Reilly. Did you know Mia Perez?
Yes, I did. Mia played on my soccer team her freshman and sophomore year and was in my advanced personal fitness class her junior year.
Did Mia Perez ever sustain a concussion while she played for you?
Yes, she did the spring of her sophomore year.
What happened?
Well, we were playing our rivals in a playoff game, so everyone was pretty excited and there was a lot of energy going around. Mia scored a beautiful goal right off the bat, and then a different player scored off an assist from Mia. So we were up 2-0 at halftime. But unfortunately, in the second half, Mia went up for a header and collided with the defender. She went down pretty hard and hit her head.
What did you do?
I pulled Mia out right away. Because as I saw that she went down hard and she was kind of slow to get up. She looked a little dazed. I pulled her out and asked her, went through my standard protocol for someone who might have a concussion. She told me that she felt foggy.
Did Mia go back into the game?
No, of course not.
Why not?
Well, player safety is my #1 priority, and I wasn't going to risk her safety and health just for another win. Mia asked to go back in the game, but it just wasn't an option.
Why wasn't it an option?
I mean, there's a bunch of reasons. First, Mia's a teenager. She was 16 at the time, and I'd have to make the adult call in that situation. On top of that, if Mia was concussed, I have to recognize that she might not even know the symptoms she's having, and it's not her place to make that decision. And if she was to have a concussion and re-enter the game, another injury could be devastating.
Did you follow up with this injury?
Yes, after the game, I talked to Mia's mom and told her that from my experience, she needed to see the doctor the next day.
Has Mia Perez played soccer for you since that incident?
She has not. I actually haven't even seen her since. Because of the concussion that she sustained on her club team, she hasn't been back to school since, and her soccer career is over.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Ross?
Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. O'Reilly, you applied for the Rubicon Club position, correct?
Yes, I originally did.
And you had an interview for that position, correct?
Well, as it turns out, I'm really glad that I did not receive that.
Mrs. O'Reilly, you're not answering my question. Did you have an interview for the position?
I did have an interview.
Thank you. And you didn't get hired for that position, did you?
No, but looking back on it,
Thank
I've
you.
been
You have
able to
answered my
have
question.
conversations. I've been able to have relationships with my students.
Mrs. O'Reilly, you've answered my question. Now, isn't it true that Riddick got hired instead of you?
Yes, he did.
And isn't it true that Riddick played pro ball?
Yes, Riddick played pro ball.
Did you play pro ball?
No, I decided to stop my soccer career and
Thank you. You've
start
answered my question,
teaching.
Mrs. O'Reilly. Now, you believe that Riddick was too focused on winning, correct?
Reddick has a different coaching philosophy than I have, that's correct.
You haven't answered my question.
I take a lot of special regards in terms of player safety, and I do believe that Reddick does like to win like any soccer coach would.
Now, Mrs. O'Reilly, you believe this job strongly should have been yours, correct?
No, looking back on it, I'm glad that I have the job that I do now.
Mrs. O'Reilly, you strongly believe this job should have been yours. That's why you posted a nasty comment on the coaches forum, correct?
I did post some comments that I regret, but as I was trying to state earlier, I've been able to form relationships with my students on a more personal level.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness. Mr. O'Reilly, can you please read 928 to 930?
I hate to admit it, but I kind of lost my head and posted some nasty comments about Jordan on the online soccer coaches forum.
Now, Mr. O'Reilly, you informed yourself pretty well about Christians, correct?
Yes, of course. Anything to keep my players safe.
And isn't it true that you sent Mia to the library instead of sending her to the nurse's office?
Yes, I thought she was just stressed from finals week.
No further question, Your Honor.
Coach O'Reilly, do you still have any hard feelings towards Jordan Reddick about what happened so many years ago?
Of course not. It's been 7 years, and I mean, I'm thankful for the job that I have at Rowe High School, where I can teach these students and see them every single day, and then also coach them soccer in addition to that.
And during the week leading up to the college showcase tournament, why didn't you think that Mia had a concussion?
Because I wasn't her club coach and I wasn't at practice on that Monday, I never saw her hit her head. And that's the biggest sign that someone could possibly have a concussion.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No redirect, Your Honor. Recross.
No, Your Honor, the plaintiff rests at this time.
That's ready to proceed with witness.
Yes, Your Honor, the defense calls Jordan Reddick.
Please raise your right hand. Do you promise the testimony you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial constitution? Please be seated, state your name, and spell your last name.
My name is Jordan Reddick, R-E-D-D-A-C-K.
Mr. Reddick, what's your current occupation?
My current occupation is the director of Courthouse Soccer Club.
And what is your soccer education?
I'm a bachelor's in sports administration.
Does that degree include any statistics training and sports research training?
Yes, statistics.
Do you have any professional playing experience?
Yeah, a couple years ago I played professionally.
And do you have any professional coaching experience?
Yes, I used to work at Triad Soccer Club.
At this time, the defense would like to qualify Mr. Reddick as an expert in soccer coaching and in sports research.
Your Honor, we have no objections to Mr. Reddick being established as an expert in soccer coaching. However, Mr. Reddick did not see the only information Mr. Reddick received about sports research was what he did on his own. And while that may be rashly based on his perception, qualifying him as an expert in this field would just mislead the jury.
The witness has stated that he was trained at college as part of his sports administration degree in finding and interpreting sports research.
Well, the court's going to rule that that goes to the weight of the evidence as opposed to the admissibility, and to the extent that he provides some expertise that would benefit the jury would be allowed to be considered as an expert to the jury. They'll get to decide. So it's the objection overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. So why did you leave the Triad Soccer Club?
Soccer Club, Triad Soccer Club, I left it because we were calling for a new graduate, and I applied for it. With all my degrees, I had a good chance of becoming director of another club. So I applied and I got it, and that was the reason why I said I could become the position.
Thank you. And as director of Rubicon, how many athletes do you supervise?
At Rubicon, I supervise over 2,000 players, and I take them very seriously.
Are you responsible for hiring coaches for all of those players?
Yes, I'm responsible for hiring coaches, and I require all my coaches to get a national level D license.
And what does the national level D license mean?
National level D license means that our coaches have been through a rigorous course, and they not only know how to play soccer, but also know how to coach soccer, which is very important for all my team.
Thank you, Mr. Reddick. I'd like to transition to talking about injury prevention. What is how common are concussions in your experience?
Concussions are not very common. I did research, and I figured out that out of 10,000 girls, 8 of them get concussions.
What is the most common serious injury to your players?
Our most common injury are called ACL injuries, anterior cruciate ligaments, which are a part of the knee, make it so they can stabilize, and these get torn frequently.
And how has the club addressed this?
We are the only club in the state that has partnered with Julian College, and what Julian College does, they send their health students over to my club, and we deal with ACL problems. They teach us a proper way of moving, jumping, and moving transiting, so our ACL ligaments will be much more stabilized and more secure.
While you were setting up that project, did you come across materials on concussion?
I was more focused on what happens more easily, what happens more frequently. As I mentioned that out of 10,000, only 8 girls have concussions. I figured out that if a club should be successful, they should take into consideration the most common injury, which in this case was ACL. I made sure that ACL was properly dealt with, as I set up joined with Julian College, and concussion was so small that I didn't take it and work through it.
So was that effort to prioritize the reason you didn't follow up on concussion materials?
Correct, yes, I prioritized ACL, which were insanely greater than concussions.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to remind the court that my name is Anna Muta. Now, Mr. Reddick, you just stated that you prioritize the injuries that happen more frequently, correct?
I do prioritize the injuries that happen more frequently.
Now, to clarify, an ACL, that's an injury to the knee?
That's anterior cruciate ligament. That's the ligament in the knee, which helps you stabilize and makes you move.
So that's the S?
Yes.
Now, a concussion, that's an injury to the brain, correct?
Yes.
But you didn't educate your coaches on how to recognize the symptoms of concussions, did you?
Like I said before, my coaches are required to take a U.S. national course so they can get their level D license. And that D license, that's a course that touches on first aid.
Mr. Reddick, so that's a no. You did not educate your coaches on how to recognize the symptoms of
I required them to get educated before I hired them.
Well, are you aware that this national D license barely touches on concussions?
I just required them to have it. And
so that's no, you're not aware that this national D license barely touches on concussions.
Can I answer, please? According to my knowledge, the U.S. course teaches them first aid materials. That's why I required them to have the national D, so they can have a previous knowledge of first aid.
Yes, but Mr. Reddick, my question was pertaining to concussions. Are you aware that the national D license barely touches on concussions? Yes or no?
No.
Now, you also didn't implement as director any protocols on how coaches should handle concussions when they occur to Rubicon players, did you?
Like I mentioned, out of 10,000, only 8 girls suffer concussions. That's an extremely small number.
But when concussions do occur, they actually can be fatal, isn't that correct?
Yes, can be fatal.
So you also had no protocols on how coaches should provide a safe return to play after a player received a concussion?
No.
But the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, they actually publish a heads-up concussion kit, don't they?
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with that.
But Mr. Reddick, in your affidavit, you do state that the CDC publishes a heads-up concussion kit that you saw at another club's tournament.
Yes, it's had on another tournament, but I'm not familiar with the website. I did see it on another club's tournament.
And despite seeing the CDC heads-up concussion kit at another club-level tournament, you didn't distribute this to your coaches, did you?
No, like you mentioned, it was from another club. It had nothing to do with my right, but they didn't.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Redirect. Mr. Reddick, did Mia tell anyone about her symptoms?
No, I never knew she had symptoms. Never knew she had.
Objection, Your Honor. This is outside the scope of my cross-examination.
Could her injuries have been prevented if she were to tell someone about her symptoms?
Objection, Your Honor. Scope.
Questions pertaining to Mia's actions were included in the cross-examination. No further questions.
No recross, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Please raise your right hand. Do you promise the testimony you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition? Please be seated, state your name, and spell your last name. Oh.
My name is Shannon Dempsey, D-E-M-P-S-E-Y.
Good afternoon, Ms. Dempsey. Can you tell us how you are associated with Rubicon Soccer Club?
Yeah, I've been a coach at Rubicon since I've been going to college. I joined my last 2 years of college and I'm still coaching every day.
Can you tell us what is Rubicon Soccer Club?
Rubicon isn't associated with any type of school. We mainly teach kids soccer just because we love the game. We want to give them scholarships, and that's really the reason why.
We will now talk about the steps that you had to undertake to get your national team license. Did you have to get any training?
Yeah, I went through FIFA. They were a great course, super rigorous, really intense course.
Can you tell us a little bit of what you learned on that course?
Yeah, I learned a ton of stuff. They went over everything from the players, the way players learn the game, concussions, everything pretty much. A lot of people flunked out actually, but I didn't.
And did you learn a lot about concussions on that course?
Yeah, actually I did. I learned a lot.
Objection, Your Honor. Unfair extrapolation. Directly within this witness's affidavit, she states that that training actually barely touched on concussions.
Can I ask a question again?
May?
Can you tell us the amount that you learned about concussions on that course?
Well, I forgot to mention that this course was only 6 days, so everything that we did learn was brief, but the amount of the concentration was quite heavy.
We will now talk about the teams that you are coaching at Rubicon.
Oh, wait, I didn't answer your question, I'm sorry. Basically, I learned a lot about concussions, but...
Objection, Your Honor. Unfair extrapolation.
Sustained.
May I rephrase something?
Wait for another question, please.
We will now talk about the teams that you are coaching at Rubicon. Why are you coaching the U17 Girls Premier Team?
I'm coaching them because their previous coach had to go away on leave because her father was ill.
And as the sole coach of like Girls U17 Premier Team, how many players do you think you coach?
Well, I coach about 54 players. They're the best of the best, and basically, they're really highly motivated.
And how do you manage 54 players?
Communication is vital for my position. Basically, I've never learned anything about players hiding their concussions. I never learned about when in doubt, sit them out. That never even occurred to me.
Did you ever give your players a chance to address any medical issues they might have?
Of course. Before the season even started, I called a team meeting. During that meeting, I brought watermelon to calm everybody's nerves. I really wanted them to be comfortable, and I really expected them to bring up any type of medical issues they would have had during that time.
Do you know Mia Perez?
I do.
How do you know her?
She is one of my players on the U17 Premier team.
I would like to direct your attention to the practice that was held the Monday after Thanksgiving. Did you notice anything unusual about Mia Perez on that practice?
Yeah, she
Yeah, I did.
Did anything unusual happen?
During that practice, Mia took a hard fall, and so I immediately took her out.
And did you try to talk to Ms. Perez after practice?
I did. I went to go talk to her, but she had zoomed away. I guess I assumed she was going to go tell her parents about it, so.
And did Mia Perez attend the next practice?
She was gone, but she sent me an email.
And what did that email say?
It told me how she had a huge test. She was studying up, so she was getting this practice to basically study. And being a recent college grad, I definitely understood.
And did that email say anything else?
No, it didn't tell me about how she was feeling. It didn't tell me about anything on behalf of Mia's well-being.
And did Mia attend the next practice?
The next practice, Mia was there, yeah.
Did you say anything to her?
I did. She seemed a little different, so I asked her what was wrong.
And what did she attribute it to?
She said she was tired and stressed, but she said it was because of her test, and then I thought back to the email and,
We will now talk about the day of the showcase game. Did anything seem off with Mia?
Yeah, she wasn't playing up to her normal standards, so I took her out.
And how did she respond to this?
Well, she begged me to go back in. She was really just saying it was fine, she's just tired, I understood that, it was early.
Did you ever see Mia get jostled by a player?
Well, I did, actually, yeah. Oh wait, no. I was thinking back to the last question, sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Did you see Mia get jostled by a player?
During the showcase game? No.
And before the game ended, what happened?
Before the game ended, that was when Mia had a concussion. She fell to the ground. And then the referee signaled for me to go onto the field.
And how did other people respond?
Other people started going onto the field like Casey Perez.
And did you say anything to Casey Perez?
I did. I said how sorry I was that this happened. She was very frantic. And so I simply calmed a reassuring mother, a distraught mother. I said everything was going to be fine.
And as you were saying your condolences to Casey Perez, did you ever imply blame on yourself?
Never. I think it was taken the wrong way throughout this trial.
Did anyone tell you about Mia's previous concussion?
No one, never at any time told me that Mia Perez had suffered a concussion.
And without knowing of Mia's previous concussion, was there anything you could have done differently?
Without knowing of Mia's prior concussion, I don't think that there's anything that I could have done differently. I have 54 players that I have to manage, and I can't micromanage them all. But if I know what to look for, of course, I'm going to keep an eye out for her.
Shall we honor her?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to inquire as to how much time I have remaining.
You have 8 minutes remaining.
Thank you. Ms. Dempsey, you just testified that you don't believe you could have done anything differently because you didn't know of Mia's prior concussion, correct?
Well, I was really kept in the dark about this whole thing, so
Ms. Dempsey, actually, on Mia's Rubicon medical waiver form, her mother wrote that Mia had sustained a prior concussion, correct?
It wasn't really my job to process those forms, so.
Yeah. So, because as the coach, you never looked at this form, you didn't know that Mia sustained a prior concussion, correct?
I didn't look at the forms because that's not my job. My duty is to keep the players safe during practices, but communication is key, like I said.
But if you had read the form, you would have known that Mia suffered a prior concussion, correct?
Well, we can play the what-if game all day long, but really verbal communication really is the thing.
Ms. Dempsey, yes or no, if you had read that form, would you have known that Mia had sustained a prior concussion?
Yeah, I would have.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the measures you and Rubicon use to keep players safe. Rubicon Rubicon didn't educate you how to recognize the symptoms of concussions, did they?
Yeah, they did. Through FIFA, the training that I received, very rigorous course, took 6 days. I
Ms.
learned a lot.
Dempsey, in this rigorous course, you, quote, barely touched on concussions?
6 days, very, everything was very concentrated. 30 people went through that course, 20 of them made it. I was one of the 20.
In fact, after this course, you didn't know the symptoms of concussions, did you?
No, I knew. I knew the symptoms of concussion. It's just I was kept in the dark that Mia ever had symptoms of concussion.
Ms. Dempsey, you state in your affidavit that the only symptom you knew of was unconsciousness. Isn't that correct?
I don't think so. Well, after that course, I knew the symptoms. Maybe I said the wrong thing in my affidavit.
So your testimony today is that you did know the symptoms prior.
Actually, I think that you're mistaken because in my affidavit I said I thought you had to be unconscious to have a concussion when, but the symptoms, I clearly knew the symptoms. Symptoms are different.
Ms. Dempsey, let me
concussion
clarify.
itself.
So within your affidavit, you didn't state specifically that you knew the symptoms. Isn't that correct?
Can you rephrase your question? I'm sorry.
But within your affidavit specifically, you did not supply that information that you knew the symptoms of concussions prior to her injury.
I think it's a given. I mean, after going through that course.
But Ms. Dempsey, you didn't specifically state this within your affidavit, did you?
There's a lot of things that aren't specifically stated in my affidavit. I mean, I'm a person. I'm not just a piece of paper.
Now, Ms. Dempsey, let's transition to the week of the showcase tournament. On Monday's practice, you witnessed Mia hit her head on the ground hard, correct?
Yeah, unfortunately she took a hard fall and I immediately took her out.
And after this hard fall, you observed that Mia was slow to get out. She seemed confused and she even complained of being dizzy. Isn't that correct?
I can't remember.
Ms. Dempsey, did you or did you not state within your affidavit that Mia was slow to get up, held onto her head, and complained of being dizzy? Yes or no?
I think so. I can't be sure.
Now, after this occurred, you didn't go over to Mia and ask her how she was feeling, did you?
She drove away very quickly. I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Ms. Dempsey, I heard you testify in direct that, in your opinion, communication is vital. Isn't that correct?
Oh, yeah. Communication makes my job possible.
However, you as the coach of the team, in that entire week, you never once inquired with me specifically about the head injury she received on Monday, did you?
Actually, when I went home, I was going to call her, but I worked such long hours for Rubicon that when I got home, it was so late at night that I didn't feel like it was appropriate to wake them up.
So, Ms. Dempsey, through that entire week, prior to the showcase game, you never inquired specifically about Mia's head injury she received on Monday. Isn't that correct?
Like I said on direct, I managed 54 players. Really, they are the
Ms.
bridge.
Dempsey, yes or no? Did you inquire with Mia about the head injury she received?
Did I inquire? I asked her how she felt.
So that's a no. You never specifically
That is
asked.
not a no.
Ms. Dempsey, did you ever specifically ask Mia Perez about the head injury she received in your Monday's practice?
I asked her, I think, the following couple of days, right after her injury, the email, she sent me the email, she never said that anything in the email. The next day I asked
Dempsey,
her.
as the coach, you never went to Mia Perez and asked her specifically about that head injury on Monday, did you?
I did. I said, how did your test go? How are you feeling? That type of stuff during practice. And she said that she was ready to play in the game for the college showcase tournament.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Did Mia Perez ever tell you about her previous concussion?
Nobody ever told me about this concussion in May. I'm extremely sorry that this is even a situation that we're all here today, but nobody ever told me this. I was left in the dark.
Why didn't you look at the medical release forms?
Because they'd already been processed. For me to go and look at them really didn't seem necessary, and all the players had already been evaluated, really.
That'll be all, Your Honor.
Actually, Ms. Dempsey, the information was provided to you within that medical Rubicon waiver form. Isn't that correct?
Wait, what information?
That Mia had sustained a prior concussion.
Yeah, but like I said, the paperwork was processed by somebody else, and it wasn't my duty to look at those forms.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Then, sit down. Is there any other witnesses?
Your Honor, I call Chris Durant.
All right, please come forward.
Please raise your right hand. Do you promise the testimony you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
Please be seated, state your name, and spell your last report.
Chris Durant, D-U-R-A-N-T.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Durant. Could you please tell us a little bit how you know Mia?
Oh yeah, me and Mia, we go real back. We go real far back. We used to be friends in middle school, and we did track together. And recently, we had some AP classes together and an advanced personal fitness class.
And how would you describe Mia's passion for soccer?
Well, Mia, she was always going on and on about soccer. We both had our own sports, but she seemed pretty crazy about soccer. She would always go on about her heroes and how she wanted to play in the pros. It almost seemed like an obsession to me.
And what happened during your personal fitness class?
Well, before class, she kind of looked a little bit uncoordinated and just out of it and quiet. So I asked her what was the problem, and she dismissed me. And later I inquired again, and she told me that she had a headache.
Did Mia tell you why her head was hurting?
Yeah, she said that it could have been due to some schoolwork and problems like that, but said it was more likely due to a hit that she had received in practice the previous day. And she compared it to a previous concussion that she had received playing for the high school soccer team.
And when you were walking to your AP chemistry class, what were you guys talking about?
Well, I asked her if she was all right, and I asked her if anybody else knew about her concussion, the possible concussion that she received. And all she said to me was that absolutely not, and that if they did know, they wouldn't let her play the showcase game, which I knew was very important to her.
Okay, now Mr. Durant, can you please clarify the only time you and Mia talked about her concussion?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah. Could you please clarify the only time you and Mia knew about the concussion?
Well, yeah. At the time that we talked, and I believe for a while after that, I believe only me and Mia were I was the only one she'd ever told about that concussion.
Objection, Your Honor, lack of personal knowledge.
Mia was with, is it hard for you to testify against Mia?
Yeah, since we've been such good friends, it's been hard for me, but today when I was called up to testify, I promised to tell the truth, and that's what I'm going to do today, because I don't feel that Shannon Dempsey and Jordan Reddick should be held liable for something that they had no fault in.
Objection, Your Honor. Opinion on the ultimate issue.
I think he was there, and I'm just trying to get across how it's hard for him to testify against Mia, they were friends.
Objection sustained.
Nothing else, Your Honor.
I'd like to inquire as to how much time I have remaining. Thank you. Mr. Durant, when you first saw me at Tuesday morning in personal fitness class, you didn't know that she had hit her head the night before in practice, correct?
No, I did not.
But you observed that she seemed different, uncoordinated in personal fitness?
Yeah, I didn't know what the cause of it was, but she did seem quieter than usual.
In fact, she felt bad enough that she had asked to sit out of personal fitness, didn't she?
I believe she did, yes.
So, how even knowing that she had hit her head the night before, the symptoms she exhibited were clear enough for you to at least know that something was wrong with me, weren't they?
Yeah, like I said, I've known her since middle school. We go real far back. I see her almost every day at school, and we hang out when we can, so I know her really well.
Now, going back to the night before, you were not at practice with me on Monday, correct?
Could you repeat the question?
I'm sorry. You were not at practice with me on Monday, correct?
I was not.
So you did not see her hit her head on the ground, correct?
No.
And so you don't know that after she hit her head on the ground, she was slow to get up. She seemed confused, and she actually even complained of being dizzy.
I had no idea, but I didn't know.
And you also don't know that this entire sequence of events, Mia hitting her head on the ground and the symptoms that ensued, all happened in front of Coach Dempsey.
I had no knowledge of that.
And you also don't know that Coach Dempsey never required Mia to go to the doctor, do you?
No, but from what I heard from the other players, it seemed that they really liked Dempsey. They liked his style of coaching.
But what you do know, Mr. Durant, is that Mia was still allowed to play in the tournament game at the end of that week, correct?
No, I did not.
Is it your testimony that you do not know that at the end of the week, Mia was allowed to play in the tournament game?
Yes, I don't know that she was.
Did you not just hear witnesses testify that Mia played in that showcase game?
Yes.
And you also testified on record that you knew Mia was looking forward to the game, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Yes, Your Honor. So can you please explain why you never said anything about Mia concussion?
Well, I didn't want to betray her. We've been real good friends, and I didn't want to take her chance away to get a scholarship to a great college, which I knew she had a good chance of going to.
Nothing else, Your Honor.
Anything else?
No recross, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may say answer. Yes, any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor. The contrast.
We are, Your Honor. At this time, I would like to remind the court that my name is Catherine Talon, and I would like to request that any remaining time be reserved for my rebuttal. Thank you.
Mia Perez was an incredible student, talented athlete, and cherished friend and daughter. But because of the inaction of Rubicon Soccer Club, its director Jordan Reddick, and her coach, Shannon Dempsey, Mia Perez is suffering to this day from the symptoms of post-concussive syndrome. We, the plaintiff, have established that it was the negligence of these three defendants that caused Mia Perez to experience not one, not two, but 3 concussive events in less than 1 week. 3 isn't an accident. It's negligence. Members of the jury, let's examine that negligence. First, Rubicon Soccer Club had a duty of care to Mia Perez to institute safe return to play protocols in order to minimize the risk of injury. Dr. Bevan Register made it clear that concussions are both common in soccer and potentially fatal. That Rubicon never established protocols on how to handle concussions. And also failed to ensure that their coaches had even basic training in concussion recognition or prevention. Mia's 3 concussive events were the culmination of this club's lack of safety protocols and procedures and negligence. Second, Jordan Reddick had a duty to educate his coaches and minimize the risk of injury to his players. Despite his knowledge that concussions are common in soccer and are potentially fatal, he still failed to educate his own coaches on how to handle concussions using materials readily available on the CDC website. This negligent inaction caused Mia Perez to experience 3 crippling concussive events. Third, Shannon Dempsey had a duty to take all necessary steps to ensure the safety of her players. Dempsey witnessed Mia hit her head in practice on Monday, was aware of her symptoms throughout the next week, and noticed her strange behavior at the showcase game. These were 3 indications that Mia Perez had sustained a concussion. But Coach Dempsey had never read the medical waiver form clearly communicating to Rubicon that Mia Perez had previously sustained a concussion Dempsey admitted on the stand today that if she had read that form, she would have watched Mia more closely. But Dempsey allowed Mia to play in the tournament without ever informing Casey Perez of her daughter's head injury or simply asking Mia specifically about her blow to the head on Monday. Because of Dempsey's negligent inaction, Mia Perez experienced not one, not two, but 3 concussive events in less than 1 week. This was not an unforeseeable accident. This was the direct result of cumulative brain-damaging injuries caused by the cumulative negligence of the 3 defendants. Members of the jury, the defense would have you believe that Mia Perez's own actions were the proximate cause of her injuries. But the evidence has clearly shown that it was Rubicon, Jordan Reddick, and Shannon Dempsey who breached their duty of care. Rubicon failed to institute safety protocols and procedures. Jordan Reddick neglected to train his coaches regarding concussion safety. Shannon Dempsey ignored critical signs and symptoms and kept Mia in the game. Because of them, Mia Perez sustained a brain injury that has lasting effects on her health. Because of their failure to act on not 1, not 2, but 3 occasions, Mia Perez is still suffering from severe symptoms of post-concussive syndrome. We, the plaintiff, are confident that you will find the defense liable, the defendants liable, for the injuries to Mia Perez. Thank you.
Please, court, counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. First of all, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to everything throughout this case. To begin, I would like to once again clarify that my clients feel terribly awful for what happened to this young girl. We would have all loved to see her play in the pros, but even though our condolences go to her and her mother, the evidence in today's case comes to show that we are not liable for the injuries that occurred on December 2, 2012. The evidence that the plaintiff presented did not prove that we caused the injury, that we breached our duty, nor that we were responsible for the damages. What the evidence did show, though, was that Mia Perez contributed to her own injuries by not attending to a follow-up doctor visit or communicating to Mr. Dempsey about her past medical history. The responsibility of these injuries does land on someone, but that someone isn't part of my clients. That someone is Mia herself. She has much to do with the cause and effect of what happened. Here's how so. First, you all clearly heard that Mia Perez was not fully treated after her first concussion. She chose not to attend the follow-up visit that Dr. Mueller recommended. Actually, did not recommend, that Dr. Mueller prescribed. If Mia Perez would have gone to that follow-up, there's an immense chance that none of this would have occurred, because now Mia would have been aware of the severity of how the next concussions are more likely to happen. Therefore, she was negligent towards her own actions, because she didn't see it as necessary to attend the follow-up visit that Dr. Miller recommended. Even the doctor's register that stated that it is more likely after 1 concussion for the rest to occur. Therefore, her not attending the follow-up visit made it much more likely and made her unaware that the next concussion would occur. Second, Coach O'Reilly's testimony the expert made it seem as if all coaches should be at his level of knowledge on concussions. Let me remind you that Coach Dempsey was certified by a national license. Therefore, what the FIFA asked for certification, he met those requirements. Therefore, he met what the law prescribed. Also, this expert, O'Reilly, even to his knowledge, like they qualified him as an expert, even to his knowledge of concussions, he himself did not catch the symptoms that Mia Perez asked to go after she was feeling sick during his class. Mr. O'Reilly clearly sent her to the library instead of the nurse after she was feeling ill. how can we expect a regular coach, somebody not to his expertise, to realize something like that? Third, the evidence showed us that out of 10,000 girls, only 8 come out with concussions playing soccer on a regular day. And sometimes those 8 aren't as severe as Mia's concussion. Therefore, there's a 0.0008% chance that a girl would come out with that severity of a concussion. How can we expect, or at least wait for somebody to become an expert to something whose likelihood is that small? Fourth of all, as you can recall Chris Durant's testimony, Mia's closest friend, he tells us that Mia knew about her symptoms and the severity of them. Even as hard as it was for him to testify for the defense, he told us how he asked Mia if she had told her mother about the symptoms, at least. And she replied with, "Are you kidding? If I did, they wouldn't let me play in the showcase." They referred to Mr. Dempsey. Mia clearly knew that Mr. Dempsey wouldn't have risked her health, so she decided to keep it to herself. No matter how heartwarming it sounds to try to go to college at any cost, it isn't my client's fault that these costs ended up hurting Mia. It is something that nobody wishes for a young athlete, but simply because the injury was there doesn't mean that someone should be blamed for it. Contemplate what the plaintiffs have brought upon us today. They have failed to prove that Jordan Riddick didn't set the proper protocols. They failed to prove the 4 counts of negligence, which are duty, breach of duty, causation, and responsibility. That's why I ask you, the jury, to realize that the plaintiff couldn't fulfill their task that they presented towards you, ultimately concluding that their case has failed. I ask you to please return a verdict in our favor. Once again, thank you for everything.
Thank you, counsel.
I would like to inquire as to how much time I have remaining.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you.
Members of the jury, the defense just tried to convince you that Mia, a concussed 17-year-old girl, is responsible for her own life-threatening brain injuries. But the plaintiff has proven by the preponderance of the evidence that the truth is it was Rubicon Soccer Club, Jordan Riddick, and Shannon Dempsey who were responsible for the not 1, not 2, but 3 concussive events that have left Mia Perez with severe symptoms of post-concussive syndrome. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Thank you, teams. Before the judges retire to chambers, I'm supposed to ask if either side wishes to make a Rule 26 motion.
We don't, Your Honor.
May I ask what the Rule 26 is?
Well, I was going to ask you if you were going to make one, so I think you're going to make one.
Well, no. Well, can I know what it is?
All right, thank you very much, James. We're going to take a couple of minutes, and I understand you have some decisions to make.